Ever get that feeling? You walk into a conversation, maybe it's about, I don't know, advanced coding or something,
Hmm.
and suddenly it feels like everyone's speaking a different language, like a secret code.
Yeah.
Especially with math, right?
Oh, absolutely. It can feel like there's this wall of jargon.
Yeah.
It's probably interesting behind the wall, but
Yeah,
how do you get in?
exactly. Well, today we're kind of picking the lock. We're diving into something that sounds maybe a bit technical at first, interactive ebooks in math class.
Okay.
But our mission really is to decode some of that, insider talk you find in educational research, make it clear, maybe even a little fun.
Making the complex accessible. I like it.
So the specific puzzle today is looking at how these interactive ebooks impact middle schoolers, specifically their math reading, which is more than just reading words. We'll get into that, and also their spatial ability, picturing things.
Right, visualizing.
And the research we're digging into focused on one particular geometry topic called three views.
Ah, yes. 3 views. That can be a tricky one for students.
And we've got a research paper that really drills down into a specific study on this.
Great, so we have some solid ground to cover.
Exactly. So by the end of this, hopefully everyone listening will not only get what the study found, but also feel comfortable with the terms they used. We'll break it down.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, so the study starts by highlighting a problem. Lots of students struggle with, well, mathematics reading and spatial ability. Why are these such big hurdles?
Well, mathematics reading. It's not like reading a novel, is it? It's about decoding the whole system. The symbols, the specific vocabulary, the way arguments are structured logically.
It's dense stuff.
It really is. And the study notes that students often get stuck translating word problems, real-world scenarios, into mathematical steps. They don't know where to begin.
Right. And spatial ability sounds a bit like a superpower.
Huh. It kind of is, in a way. The researchers, drawing on earlier work, define it as your ability to mentally build, hold on to, and even rotate images of objects in your mind.
Okay, like imagining how furniture fits in a room.
Exactly. Or following directions on a map. It's crucial in math, especially geometry, and definitely in STEM fields, science, tech, engineering.
Uh-huh.
And the worry highlighted in the study is that maybe students aren't developing the skill as strongly as they could be.
Okay, so math language is tough, picturing things is tough. What was the proposed fix in this study?
Interactive ebooks, that was their potential solution.
Not just a PDF on a screen, I'm guessing.
Definitely not. These are ebooks packed with multimedia sound, animation, video. But the key is the interactive part. Students can, click around, skip sections, replay videos, do little quizzes.
Get feedback right away.
Yes, immediate feedback is often a big part of it. It's active learning, not just passive reading.
Makes sense. The study mentioned a theory behind this, something about multimedia learning.
Right, the cognitive theory of multimedia learning. Basically, the idea is we learn more deeply when information is presented using both words and pictures or visuals, rather than just words alone.
Like engaging different parts of the brain.
Sort of, yeah. It suggests we have separate channels for processing verbal and visual stuff, and using both together helps build stronger mental connections. Less cognitive load, potentially.
Okay, seeing an animation of a concept beats staring at a static definition. Got it. Now let's circle back to those key terms. Mathematics reading ability. What exactly falls under that umbrella, according to this research?
So they really emphasize it's about understanding the whole mathematical context. The text, yes, but also the symbols, the specific jargon, interpreting tables, graphs.
The whole mathematical language.
Precisely. They break it down based on a model by McKenna and Robinson into 3 main cognitive bits.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's prior knowledge of mathematics. Basically, what math do you already know? You need that foundation.
Makes sense. Can't learn calculus without algebra?
Right. Second is general reading comprehension. Just your basic ability to understand written text, follow arguments, get the main idea. Standard reading skills.
Okay, and the third?
That's the mathematics-specific literacy skills. This is where you get into understanding the unique grammar of math, knowing what symbols mean, how to read a formula, how to interpret a specific type of graph or diagram accurately.
The real math language decoding part.
Exactly.
Okay. And then spatial ability. We touched on it, but what was the study's working definition?
They used Lohmann's definition, basically.
Yeah.
The capacity to construct mental images of objects, hold on to them, retrieve them, and crucially, manipulate them mentally, rotate them, see them from different angles.
Right. Not just recognizing a shape, but being able to mentally play with it.
Yes. And they stress its importance, especially in STEM, and note the concern that maybe it's underdeveloped in some students, like potentially those in the study's location in Taiwan.
Okay. And this all ties into teaching the concept of three views. Remind us what that is. My geometry is a bit rusty.
Huh, no worries. Imagine you have a 3D object, like built from blocks. The three views are flat, 2D drawings of that object from specific angles, looking straight down from the top,
The top view.
looking straight at the front,
Front view.
and looking at it from the left side.
Left view. Okay, so three 2D pictures of one 3D thing.
Exactly. And the study points out that translating that 3D reality into these 2D representations, understanding those spatial planes, can be quite difficult for students.
I can see that. It requires some mental gymnastics. So, sounds like a prime candidate for some interactive help. Now, the research method. Quasi-experimental pre-test, post-test with a control group. Can you translate that from researcher speak?
Sure. Quasi-experimental just means they probably used existing classes, so students weren't randomly assigned to groups like in a super strict lab experiment. It's common in schools.
Okay, practical reality.
Right. Then pre-test, post-test means they tested the students before the lesson, pre-test, and after the lesson, post-test, on math reading and spatial ability.
To see if they improved.
Exactly. And the control group design means they had two groups. The experimental group used the fancy interactive ebook for the three views lesson.
And the control group.
They used a more standard ebook, likely without all the interactive features, maybe just text and static images. So you compare the improvement in the experimental group to the improvement in the control group.
Gotcha. Comparing the fancy version to the standard version, and this involved 34 seventh graders.
That's right, 34 students participated.
Okay, so what interactive features were actually in that experimental ebook? Spill the beans.
All right. They had several cool things based on the study's description. A motivational video to start, linking the ideas to the real world.
Get them hooked?
Yeah. Then audio narration alongside the text descriptions of the concepts.
Hitting different learning styles.
They had something called an uncoding function, like a digital scratch card to reveal answers or hints.
Oh, interactive reveal.
Yeah. Plus, click and select quizzes with immediate feedback, drag and drop questions, maybe matching views to objects, and fill in the blank questions too.
Wow, okay. That sounds way more dynamic than just reading. How did they use these for the three views specifically? Can you give an example?
Sure. So maybe to understand the top view, students could watch a little animation showing a 3D object rotating until they're looking down on it.
Ah.
Then they might try drawing it on a digital grid, and then use that uncoding feature to see the correct answer and compare.
Instant check.
Right. Or a drag and drop where they have different 3D block shapes, and they have to drag the correct front view, top view, and left view images to match each shape. If they get it wrong, it tells them, and they can try again.
That immediate feedback loop seems huge. No waiting days for grading.
Exactly. It lets students correct misunderstandings right away.
So the big question, did it work? What were the findings? Let's start with that tricky mathematics reading ability.
Okay, so interestingly, both groups improved their math reading scores from pre-test to post-test.
So even the standard ebook helped somewhat.
It seems so. But, and this is the key, finding the group using the interactive ebook showed a significantly greater improvement in their overall math reading score compared to the control group.
So the interactivity added an extra boost. What about the subparts of math reading, general comprehension, prior knowledge, math-specific skills?
There, the study didn't find significant differences between the groups on those individual subscales.
Okay. So the overall score went up more, but not necessarily one specific skill.
Right. It suggests that maybe the combination of features in the interactive ebook work together synergistically, improving the overall ability to engage with and understand the mathematical content, even if one single component didn't jump out statistically on its own.
Interesting nuance. Okay, what about spatial ability? Did the interactive ebook help students picture those shapes better?
Yes, definitely. The results here were quite clear. The study found a significant positive effect. Students using the interactive ebook showed significantly better improvement in their spatial ability scores compared to those using the standard ebook.
And they had stats to back that up.
They did. They reported the statistical test results, and Tovia, for those interested, showing it was unlikely due to chance. The interactive features really seemed to help build that mental visualization skill for the three views.
That's powerful. It makes intuitive sense that seeing animations and interacting would help with visualizing. Now, beyond test scores, how did the students feel about using these ebooks? Satisfaction, engagement.
Good question. They looked at satisfaction too. The experimental group, the interactive group, reported significantly higher satisfaction, specifically with the richness of the content,
What are you meaning?
meaning they appreciated things like the combination of text and the audio explanations. Having multiple ways to get the information seemed to make it feel richer, more helpful.
That makes total sense. What about just like how easy it was to use or overall feeling?
Interestingly, on measures like satisfaction with the interface design or their overall feeling, there wasn't a significant difference found between the two groups.
So it wasn't necessarily that they thought it looked way better?
Perhaps not dramatically, but when asked specifically about the interactive features themselves, the animations, the drag and drop, etc., the experimental group generally agreed these things were engaging and helpful for learning. They gave it a positive rating, around 3.4 out of 5 on average.
Okay, so they valued the functionality, the interactive learning bits, even if the overall look and feel wasn't the main draw compared to the standard ebook.
That seems to be the takeaway, yeah.
Right. So summing up the findings, better overall math reading, significantly better spatial ability, and higher satisfaction with content richness for the interactive group. What's the big so what here? Why does this matter?
Well, it strongly suggests that thoughtfully designing ebooks with a mix of text, audio, animation, and interactive exercises can be a really effective strategy, especially for complex topics like 3 views that require both understanding mathematical language and strong spatial reasoning.
It tackles those initial challenges head on.
Exactly. The study also mentioned the potential value of combining these dynamic digital tools with physical manipulatives. Like, they used actual building blocks in the classroom, too. That blend of virtual and physical can be very powerful.
So it's not just tech for tech's sake. It's about using the tech smartly to aid understanding and engagement.
Precisely. Using features like animation and immediate feedback to make abstract concepts more concrete and accessible.
Now, good researchers always mention limitations.
Yeah.
What did the study's authors caution about?
They were upfront about a couple of things. One was the sample size 34 students isn't huge, and the other was that all the students were from one specific region in Taiwan. So they note you need to be a bit cautious about generalizing these exact findings to, say, a much larger, more diverse group of students elsewhere without more research.
Standard scientific caution, important context. Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the main message we want listeners to walk away with from this deep dive?
I think the key takeaway is that interactive ebooks, when designed well with multimedia and chances for students to actively engage, really do seem promising. They look like a valuable tool for helping students get a better grip on mathematical concepts and also build up those crucial spatial skills.
And hopefully, by digging into the study, folks also feel a bit more comfortable with some of the research terms and ideas behind educational technology.
Absolutely. Demystifying the jargon a bit.
So here's something to mull over. If this interactive approach works well for math concepts like 3 views, what other subjects or tricky learning areas might benefit? Where else could things like animation, interactivity, and instant feedback make a real difference?
Ooh, good question. Lots of possibilities there. In sciences, maybe even understanding complex historical events or language structures.
Yeah, or even just thinking about our own learning. How can we leverage some of these ideas? Maybe finding interactive resources or focusing on visualizing things, whatever we're trying to learn.
That's a great point. It's fascinating to see how technology is evolving to support learning, and understanding the research helps us make better choices as learners and educators.